Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The manhwa starts off with carriages heading down a path. A little girl says to look at her, she's talking to a boy. Saying that since they are the same age, they need to figure out who the younger sibling will be. The boy tells her he doesn't care, and she can be the older sister if she wants. She seems annoyed, saying that is boring. He says that she can be the younger sister. She seems surprised, asking why he thinks she would like to be the younger sister. And that the most important thing right now, is that they are going to be a family from now on. The boy finally realizes his situation, saying, he is becoming a family with strangers. But he also had his own family that he spent time with. His name is Boris Jineman. He's the second son of Jurkin Jineman, the lord of the Travaches Longard. It takes us back to 12 years ago at the Jineman residence. The family is welcoming Boris to their lives. And we see his mother died upon giving birth to him. Someone starts to explain how it's sad his mother won't be with him. But as he can see that the Jinemans are a renowned martial family. So they are sure he will grow up to be a brave warrior. He will eventually inherit the armor and sword passed down throughout the family. The treasures are called Winterer and Snow Guard. He will share them with his older brother Yevgen. The missus of the house passed away and master might hate all of the second children, but young master Yevgen is very kind, so he will shower him with affection. They tell Boris to focus on survival as this nation, Travaches, is full of people dying due to the revolution. And how his uncle was kicked out of the family and is planning his own revolution. They might lose their lives because of this, but even if a bloodbath were to occur, someone from the family will survive, and take revenge as the Jinemans never forget. Whether it be the love they were shown, kindness or any wrongs done to them. We see an older looking Yevgen telling Boris that he must survive until the end of this world. Boris also looks a bit older, as he says he chose to believe in him, now that the prologue thing is over. We are brought back to the house of Jineman. A maid is telling Boris that there is an evil near Lake Amira. And please remember her words no matter what happens. Telling him to never go to that lake. And how there's something evil that lurks there, especially during stormy nights like now. You can see a monster's eyes glowing waiting to feed on those who approach. Which is why he must never go near Lake Amira. We see Yevgen asking Boris if that's truly what the maid was telling him. He says yes, and everyone else said the same thing, that no matter what, to avoid that lake, as there is a red-eyed wraith that lives there. Yevgen puts his hand on his cheek saying he doesn't need to worry about stuff like that. Boris's eyes are filled with happiness as Yevgen warmly smiles. Saying that he will always be here for him. Boris says that his smile seems brighter today, making him wonder why it feels out of place to him. He does his best to smile back. Saying okay, Yevgen begins to ruffle his hair saying that his hair is like a bird's nest. And the birds need to fly away. He then pokes him with a wooden sword saying that it's time to practice as promised. We see Boris's hand shaking while picking up the sword. He charges in, but Yevgen easily avoids the attack. Saying that he should make sure that he is within range first. As he's swinging from too far away. They clash swords, then Yevgen tells him that his form is not too bad. Boris is happy for the compliment. Then tells him that he'll be coming for real this time. So to get ready. We see him charging at Yevgen, who pretends to lose and falls while holding on to Boris, who asks him why he fell back. Yevgen laughs saying that he was the one who pushed him. We see their father Jurkin, watching out the window. Some man is telling him that it seems like Yevgen adores his brother. Jurkin clicks his tongue saying that this is pathetic for a family heir. As this is no time to loiter around. Coughs begin to echo around the room and Jurkin is scared when he looks over. But back outside we see Yevgen telling Boris to try again. Boris wonders what this odd feeling is, but Yevgen continues his lessons saying to hold his sword firmly. As Boris charges in, Yevgen is surprised how much better it is. Then blocks his attack saying he did great. But he begins to lose control of his sword and tries to tell Boris that he's way too close. We see the wooden sword going straight to his head, then we hear him hit the floor. Yevgen profusely apologizes, saying that he's sorry and he won't do it again. Boris says that he felt a fear as if somebody was trying to kill him. And then begins to lose consciousness. A man runs towards them telling them not to head back to the estate. Yevgen asks what's going on. The man is gassed out, but says that Vlados Jineman, the elder, has returned. Both Boris and Yevgen feel chill run down their spine. Boris says that odd feeling of his turned out to be true and it's not something that he can actively control. And he always has this feeling when something bad happens. At the estate, a man dismounts from his horse, saying that barely any time has passed yet the dogs have forgotten his master. Then looks down at it, calling the dog a fool. Bro is talking to a dog. It cuts back to Jurkin inside of his office, as his attendant calls out to him asking if they should let him inside. Jurkin looks down regretfully saying yes. The door opens and Vlados enters saying that it has been a while. We learn that he is Jurkin's younger brother. Jurkin says it has been 5 years since he kicked him out and he is surprised that he's still alive. Vlados asks if he is disappointed to see him here and smirks at him. Jurkin says he's not sure why he's here, but wonders if he came all this way to die. Vlados says that not a single thing has changed here. The only difference is that things look older. He tells Jurkin to offer some drinks as he rushed here in half a day to talk to him. They put their drinks down and Vlados sits down. He takes a sip, asking Jurkin if he remembers when they were young and how in the field they often sparred together. He could still remember the clashing of their swords. Back then they would skip out on training and play around, but Jurkin was consistently scolded by father at the time for not behaving as the eldest should. He could tell that ate away at him. Jurkin cuts to the point asking what he wants. Vlados says that he is impatient, then slams his cup down saying it's time to get to business. As he already knows, the Prince-elect Khan, who is behind him, will become the chief elector. When that happens, Jurkin will become a thorn in his side. The reason he is back is to secure his family's survival. Jurkin turns his head saying that if he is only here to talk nonsense, then to leave. Vlados sighs, saying that this mansion doesn't belong to just him, as their parents passed it down to them. Jurkin grits his teeth out of anger, asking Vlados if he's forgotten when he threw away, saying that their sister died unfairly because of him, asking if he's forgotten about Yenishka already. Vlados laughs, saying to think about it carefully, then makes a serious face asking how that is his fault. Jurkin says if it weren't for that filthy scheme of his, she'd be alive right now, along with her fiancé. Vlados sighs, saying that back then, the one who did that to Yenny, the one who went crazy and killed her, wasn't him, but Jurkin. Jurkin throws his cup at him, asking why he's making such a ridiculous excuse in front of him. Vlados wipes away the drink from his face, saying that even after so long, he still is awful as usual. He guesses that everybody in this family is stubborn, asking if he thinks his sons will be different from them. Jurkin yells, telling him to get out. Vlados sits up, saying that it would do him well to remember this, and that this is his last chance. Since they're brothers, he came to forgive him and forget all of his wrongdoings, and that Khan will also turn a blind eye to it. He begins to grin, saying that all he has to do is hand over the Winterbottom kit. Jurkin quickly draws his blade, pointing at Vlados, telling him to get out. He says even if his head were to be split apart, he will give him nothing. Vlados scoffs, saying he's as foolish as he thought, and that they'll see how long he can last, when he takes everything from him. We learn the attendant and his name, Tolk, and Jurkin tells him to start the preparations. Later we hear footsteps, as Yevgen asks where his father is. The man who warned them earlier says he's on the second floor. Yevgen asks if Tolk is already downstairs. The man says yes. He opens the door, and Yevgen says that it's time to use the Winterbottom kit. Boris is surprised, and we learn that the Winterbottom kit is armor that was stolen from murdering the territorial lord of another country and 99 enemies. Which we learned about before are the Snow Guard and a sword named the Winterer, is a treasure of the Gineman household that has been passed down through the generations. Only the strongest can possess it. As centuries passed by, it only remained as rumors, but now they're going straight into Yevgen's hands. He draws the Winterer, and Boris is surprised. We hear Jurkin telling Yevgen that he has something to show him. As we are flashback to earlier this year, Jurkin says that he has surely heard about it. The family treasure that his great-grandfather and his son obtained after war. The Winterer and the Snow Guard. Together they are called the Winterbottom kit. Yevgen says he thought it was a rumor. And Jurkin says that was the point. His grandfather passed down a piece to both Vlados and himself in hopes for them to work together. But he was mistaken. The Winterbottom kit is something that will only show its full power when both are used together. Jurkin says that since Yevgen will be 20 this year, he will have to learn his role as the heir to the Gineman family. If danger befalls them, he must run away with the kit. Yevgen is surprised. Jurkin tells him that no matter what happens, he must survive and protect the family heirloom. As the family will survive through him. And that he must not lose it no matter what happens. He asks Yevgen if he understands. Back to the present, they are both laid out on the bed. Boris says that it looks cool. And Yevgen asks him which one he thinks looks better. Boris says that since the armor is heavy, the sword seems cooler. Yevgen tells him that he should take the Winterer then. And he'll give it to him once he's old enough to swing a sword. He hands it to him, asking him to try holding it. But it hits the floor. As it is too heavy for Boris to hold. Yevgen tells him that he can do it and to take a look. As he lifts the sword for him, he tells him that the Winterer is his sword. Since then, Yevgen told him at every chance he got that the sword was his. And due to this, he eventually started to believe that the sword was his. But he is just a child compared to his brother. So the sword should be Yevgen's. Yevgen tells him that uncle has started a rebellion. And that their father knew about this. So they must do as planned. He tells him not to worry. Boris recalls that there was once a time when Tolk told him about these rebellions. How a rebellion that happens within the family only has winners and losers. There is no right or wrong. Even with many people dying, nobody will be punished. Nor will anyone acknowledge or cry for them. Since he is a member of the Trebuchets, he will understand when the time comes. Those words resounded through Boris's head as Yevgen picks up the sword, saying that he will be borrowing it for a bit. He can tell that Boris is deep in thought. Boris grips the bedsheet, telling him that he doesn't have to return it to him as the sword is his, since father gave it to him personally. He must be the one to survive and get revenge. Yevgen blankly stares at him, and then puts his hand on his shoulder, telling him that the Winterer is his. He won't borrow it without his permission, and he will return it once the rebellion is over. Boris looks down, saying that he can't even hold the sword properly. He tells Boris to recall them just holding the sword together. While it may be heavy for now, he shouldn't worry about it, as in the future he will be able to wield it. He hugs him, saying that he can do it since he is a warrior, like his name suggests. I'm guessing Boris means warrior in their language. They hear a sound outside, and they look out the window to see a fire. Yevgen says that it's starting, and they both look tense. We hear soldiers yelling that today the head of the Jineman family will change. They lift their torches into the air, telling everybody to drop their weapons and surrender, and to serve their new master so they can help revive the family. Jurkin looks down with resolve, saying that those who would waver to words have already left. And while it can't be compared to their prime when father was here, he still has the soldiers who are loyal to the family. Jurkin opens the window, yelling that those who have dared to invade Longard are about to embrace the light. The soldiers on the ground see Jurkin, saying that he's up on the terrace. Jurkin shouts, asking if they'll continue to hide like cowards, telling Tolk to get ready. We see Tolk raise his hand in the air as a magic circle begins to form. A white flame begins to envelop the field, causing the soldiers to scream, making them wonder what is going on. Jurkin's men raise their spears into the air, saying that they will kill Vlados. Vlados' men get scared at Tolk, and Jurkin tells his men to step forward, asking if he thinks the Jineman family would fall to a group of shitters. But then he hears a very loud sound as he turns. A chill runs down his spine as we see a giant serpent-like creature coming from a magic circle. Jurkin recognizes it as a summon from the frozen realm, and we learn that his name is Kragel. Jurkin says this is bad and that there are only 3 people in the Trebuchets who can summon Kragel. He sees in the crowd there is the Archmage, Jong Nal, one of Khan's men. He can't believe that he has been assigned to Vlados, saying that Vlados's position must be secured right now. All of the mansion workers begin to run in fear from Kragel. The beast begins to munch on the tower. Jurkin says that evacuating the mansion is their top priority. The second squad will hold out, so they just need to get out and come up with a plan. He overhears Yevgen and then turns to see both Yevgen and Boris. He tells Yevgen to run by himself as he will keep Boris with him. Yevgen pleads with him and Jurkin asks how he plans to escape while trying to save Boris as well, asking him if he doesn't remember what he is protecting right now. Yevgen's face is full of regret as he turns and begins to run away. Boris runs in the opposite direction, as Jurkin guides him. Boris recalls that his father just said escaping with a child is impossible. Boris says that he is just a burden to his father, and that Yevgen must survive and protect the treasure. Because even if he survives he won't be able to protect the family like Yevgen. Boris looks back sad, saying that he has this strange feeling. Just like earlier, he thinks that something will happen to Yevgen. We see Kragel demolishing the estate and the soldiers begin to fight with one another. Tolk tells Jurkin that most of the people escaped, but the mansion is being demolished. We hear a loud crashing sound as Boris turns to see another part of the estate completely shattering. He is struck with fear, but Jurkin is pissed. He yells, asking how dare Vlados destroy the mansion, and that he will never forgive his brother for this. He tells Tolk to check the status of the first and second squads. Tolk swings his hand through the air releasing mana, saying that they are at a disadvantage since they can't use the mansion for defense anymore. Jurkin says that they will attack the entrances on both sides and divide the soldiers into 2 groups, telling them to hide in the bushes and wait for his command. Boris tries to ask him about what to do with the monster, but Jurkin says that it's fine as long as they don't go to the mansion. And to stop crying as the monster can't touch the living in this world. since half of his body is still in the other world. Boris looks worried and Tolk begins to put his fingers together and whistles to alert the remaining soldiers. We see everybody hiding in the bushes. Jurkin tells Boris to follow slowly and then fall back when the fight starts. He tells him to run away, asking if he understands. Boris asks where he should run to. Jurkin sits there and thinks about it, telling him to go to Lake Amira. Boris is scared, saying that he's been told about the evil wraith there. Jurkin asks if he believes the words of an old maid, asking how he can even call himself a man of the giant man family. Because of that stupid rumor, nobody will go near it, so it will be safer than anywhere else. He tells him that there are 3 trees with black trunks. So hide there and he will come get him after the fight. Asking if he understands. Boris is clearly scared. Then Tolk tells him that now is the time. Jurkin shouts, telling everybody to attack the east entrance, and the soldiers bring a charge forward. He turns to ask Boris what he's waiting for, telling him that this is his chance to get up and run. Boris resolves himself and begins to run, saying that the story has to be made up and he should just do as his father told him. The fight starts as the soldiers begin murdering one another to the screams of Kragel. Vlado smiles, saying to come forward, and he shall cut them all down. He begins to slowly walk towards them. He raises his sword, instantly dispatching 3 of the soldiers. With a smile on his face, he asks Jurkin where he is hiding, saying he treated him like a criminal, and drove him out, claiming the family and inheritance all for himself. Now he's hiding like a scared rat. One of his men yells, saying he found Jurkin. Vlados turns around towards him, saying that he's not too far away, and that today will be the day when Hargrun of the Darkblade will be replaced by Winterer of the Silver White. Vlado's army begins to surround Jurkin, who is clearly gassed out, saying this is quite daring for them to openly invade his territory like this. He kills one of the soldiers, leaving his head on the floor, telling them to come, and that he will make them pay for their reckless bravery. While he is monologuing, Vlados takes this chance to give him backshots, and whispers into his ear, saying that he warned him about this. He pulls the sword out of his back. Jurkin screams, telling his men that it's an ambush. Vlados laughs, saying that he's not what he used to be, and it must be because he's gotten old. Then he stabs him through the stomach. Jurkin begins to cough up blood. Tolk runs towards him while calling out for Jurkin. Vlados pulls his blade out, saying that he will kill him too. We see some magic get fired off and a black mist begins to blind everybody. They begin to swing in a panic. Tolk stretches his hand out, forming a magic circle. Then we see him holding on to Jurkin. Vlados swings his sword, asking if he's planning to run like a coward, saying that this is pathetic for a warrior. He goes in for the kill, but they teleport away, leaving Vlados pissed. We see all the blood that Jurkin left behind, and Vlados tells everybody to go find them. Back to Boris, who is running through the forest. He starts reminding himself to find the black trunk. After some time he stumbles forward and finds it, but is gassed out. He says that his father will be here soon, so he should just hide. He sits down beside it, starting to pant. He says he just has to wait until then. He starts to hear an eerie noise from the forest. Then he starts to get the cold sweats, wondering what it is. He begins to shake in fear, wondering if it's his father or perhaps the wraith. The noise abruptly stops. Boris is confused and then hears it coming from behind him again. A red tentacle wraps around Boris, picking him into the air. He turns to see the evil spirit of the lake. Boris says that his maid was right, asking if his father really didn't know that the monster was here. He wonders why his father told him to come here. The monster goes to stab towards his face. Out of fear, Boris closes his eye and screams, saying that he doesn't want to die. He calls out for his father and Yevgen. But then we see the monster get cut into pieces by Yevgen. Boris falls to the floor and then gets drenched in blood. He can't see that it is Yevgen, and he just sees a knight in front of him. He starts to feel fear as he walks towards him. Yevgen stands in front of him and then screams out, asking why he is here. Boris is confused and Yevgen quickly hugs him. Yevgen asks why he is here, then tells him that he could have died. Boris tries to tell him that father told him to wait here. Yevgen is surprised and Boris asks why he is here, since father told him that he needs to protect the Winterbottom kit. Yevgen is speechless and then says that he doesn't agree with father. He thinks that family is more important than treasure, as there's no point of a treasure if his entire family will be dead. They can't protect the treasure forever as nobody will outlive it. Boris asks how he knew that he was here and Yevgen smiles proudly, saying that he is his brother, so he will protect him no matter where he goes. Boris goes to say something but a bright light appears behind them. He turns to look at it and Yevgen tells him that he needs to listen closely, as uncle isn't the only enemy and that Khan is working with him. He is the one who lent him all these soldiers and the mages. As Khan wants the Snow Guard and Winterer along with the family's cooperation. And for that to happen, Father needs to be eliminated. But he knew all of this, which is why he had them escape. A portal begins to form from behind them. Shocked, they both look over in anticipation, but are relieved after they see that it's just Tolk and Jurkin. Yevgen quickly asks what happened and Tolk tells him that it was the Hargrun. The Khan must have given it to him. It is a strong poison that is resistant to healing and he can't heal this. Tolk then asks why they didn't leave already. Boris hides behind him. Yevgen goes to say something. But Tolk says it's fine, asking if they're both okay. Yevgen tells him that they just saw the bright light and then it flashed and he thought it was near the mansion. Tolk realizes something, saying that it is the Eye of Quiria. It's a spell that allows you to see far. And that the great mage Zhang would be able to find even a needle in a haystack. Half a day away. Since they both saw the flashing light, their location is exposed. Worried, Yevgen asks what they should do. Tolk tells him that they just have to hope that luck is on their side. Jurkin mumbles that they need to go. He looks up at Tolk and they exchange glances. Tolk nods his head. Then summons a portal, saying that Yevgen should leave. Boris looks up wondering what Yevgen will do. Tolk tells him that if he understands the will of his father, that he needs to leave and protect the treasures. We see horses beginning to run through the woods and Vlados is pissed that they went here to Lake Amira. He says that the people here fear it. And the place is banned as it's the horrible place that took their one and only sister away from them. We see a young Yenny and Vlados playing, as Jurkin watches. She chases Vlados through a field, and they are all laughing. Vlados says that the only person he cared about in the entire household was none other than his sister. And we see that Jurkin cared for her too. Even though they always argued, the only one who viewed them both as equals was Yenny. We see Vlados asking Jurkin if he's out of his mind, asking how he can send her to a family like that. Jurkin says that he might be from another faction, but Yenny is the one who decided, and there's nothing they can do except wish for her happiness. Vlados is furious, saying don't make him laugh, and that there's only one method. He tells Yenny that her fiancé is going to Lake Amira. Distraught, she asks why. Then quickly runs off, saying that he cannot go there. Vlados says that his plan is working, and that she needs to go to the lake. And his subordinate will kidnap her while she is there, as he does not plan to send her away. At least that's what he planned. But then we hear her screaming, and we see that there is something clearly wrong with her. As she has completely lost her mind, Vlados watches in horror and starts to wonder what happened. She was supposed to be captured by his subordinate, she should not have even made it close to the lake. Jurkin moves him out of the way. Vlados says that they need to call a medic for Yenny, but Jurkin says that she no longer belongs to this world, and even if he didn't agree with her engagement, he has done something that should never have been done. Vlados tries to tell him that he did not know this would happen, as he did not expect a coward like Yenny to go to the lake, and that he didn't think that the spirit was real. Jurkin says that his excuse has no value to him, since he is no longer a giant man. He tells everybody to return to the estate. Vlados asks what he is going to do, and Jurkin begins to draw his blade, saying that she is lost already. Her mind was taken by the evil spirit, and it can only be cured by death. Vlados gets held back while screaming, telling Jurkin to wait, and he begins to scream and cry, calling out for Yenny's name, and then we see her die. Flashback ends. Vlados tells everybody to search the lake, and they must search thoroughly. They start to hear some screeching from the water as some pruned hands start to crawl out of it. Then ghouls begin to pour out one by one. The soldiers begin to run, and Vlados asks if they are planning to disobey him. He cuts some ghouls in half, saying that this is like cod zombies, and he hates the disgusting odor of this lake. He says it would be a lie if he said he was not scared, but if he can defeat Jurkin, he will fight every monster inside of this lake. Tolk tells Yevgen that it is time to go, and then they can hear the sounds of the soldiers. Tolk says that they will be discovered soon. Yevgen proudly tells him that he will not leave, as he will stay here to protect both his father and Boris. Tolk tells him that Vlados is coming, and they will soon have to encounter their worst moment. Yevgen says that the family heirloom is protected so it can be used in the worst moments, and if his father has what he wants, then he also has what he wants. He asks Boris if he understands. He recalls watching the day he was given the winter bottom, and says that he doesn't want to live in a world without his brother or father. With a pained smile, Yevgen tells him that they should think of it as a glorious way for them to die together. Boris's heart sinks, and Tolk says that until they see him die, not to go out. Yevgen says when it is his turn to face him, he will not back off. Boris looks up, saying that he understands now why his brother's eyes were unusually blue, and his smile was so bright, and that there is always a strange premonition. They keep pursuing forward, and Jurkin says they finally made it. He is clearly gassed out, saying that Yenny must be in here somewhere, caught by an evil spirit never to be found, and he looks at the lake, sadly. Vlados then asks if he is only now planning to look for her. They are abandoning her without even giving her a grave. She must not be happy to see him, as he was the one who killed her after all. Jurkin says that Vlados is too stubborn to admit his wrongdoings. Vlados draws his sword, asking if he is planning to beg for forgiveness. Jurkin charges in, saying that it is too late for that. Vlados says it is time to resolve this grudge, and they will fight until the Wraith appears. Jurkin clashes swords with Vlados, saying that he saved his life, asking if he's truly unaware of his sins, and that he is the true reason that Yenny had to die, ending up like one of those monsters in the lake. Vlados raises his sword into the air, asking if he is still blaming him for that. Jurkin blocks the attack, but Vlados continues, saying that the one who killed Yenny is Jurkin rather than him, and that he just wants to end things right here. They both clash swords, saying that they'll stay here until the red-eyed spirit appears. The ghouls begin to surround Yevgen and Boris. Yevgen starts to mutter, talking about his aunt and some other stuff, and that he'll protect him from the Wraith. Confused, Boris asks if he did not already kill the Wraith in the forest. But he can see on Yevgen's face that something is deeply wrong with him. Yevgen's hands begin to shake as he holds onto the Winterer. Boris looks down, saying that his father was right, and that the family heirloom is only strong if used by one person. So Yevgen must be the only one to wear them both. Boris resolves himself, saying that he can block the first attack, even if it's from the evil spirit, as long as Yevgen survives. An aura begins to emanate from Yevgen's chest. Boris realizes this and tells him that the snow guard is doing something. Yevgen locks in, saying that it's here. And we see a red glow appear. Boris is taken into a white room and screams, asking what's going on. He calls out for Yevgen, but instead gets an evil laughter from behind him. He slowly turns around to the laughter, as a voice says that he is such a beautiful child. He's greeted with two giant red eyes. He jolts awake and sits up, asking where he is. Yevgen calls out to him and he turns to see him waving. Yevgen says he's glad he's awake and to drink some water. With a confused expression, Boris looks at him. Yevgen asks him what's wrong, wondering if he had a nightmare or something. Boris jumps up and hugs him, knocking the water out of his hands. He begins to cry as they fall to the ground. Yevgen comforts him, saying that he is his brother. Boris says that something is weird and he was definitely at the lake. Father was fighting uncle while both he and Yevgen got surrounded, but he doesn't know what happened afterwards. Yevgen says that it looks like he needs to get some more water, and Boris asks where they are. Yevgen tells him that it's just north and they are in the territory of the Gurim family, and they rode the horse here while Boris was asleep. Boris asks about where their father is. Yevgen makes a sad expression, saying that father went to some other place, and that they got scattered after the situation. Boris asks how they are meant to find them now, and Yevgen tells him not to worry, as Tolk will contact them using magic. Boris asks what they should do now, and Yevgen suggests that they go meet their great aunt, because the faction she is in does not have a bad relationship with their father. Or they could go in the direction of Katsuya, who their father serves. Boris thinks about it, asking if they have to go anywhere instead of just staying here. They can be like commoners. Yevgen is surprised, then tells him that he has no idea how to live like one, as they have always lived with the help of others. Boris asks if they can just wait until father contacts them. Then they can just live quietly. But then his stomach grumbles very loudly. Yevgen makes a happy expression and starts to laugh, saying that they should go eat at a nearby village. We see the inside of an inn. Everybody's having a good time. Yevgen enters, then the innkeeper welcomes them. Yevgen asks for one room, and the innkeeper sees his sword looks expensive, and then smirks, saying that it'll be 10 elso. Yevgen puts down a coin, and the innkeeper says that she knew he looked rich, saying that he gave way too much. The other patrons ask if they just wanted to see what a commoner's bar looked like. The innkeeper hands him a key to the room, asking what he would like to eat for dinner tonight and breakfast tomorrow. Yevgen says whatever is okay with him. Boris feels an ominous feeling from behind and turns. Yevgen taps him on the shoulder, saying that they should continue. The other patrons begin to mock them, saying that they won't enjoy something that a commoner eats. They all start laughing at them. Then one of the men walks over and puts food down on the table, asking them to let him know how it is. Boris covers his mouth to stop himself from vomiting, as he looks down to see a bowl full of maggots. If you've watched till the end, comment, Fall Guy, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.